everyone, and welcome to another vlog where I rant and make jokes about my life. Now today I want to tell you a story about an egotistic, narcissist, racist professor. As many of you may already know, I have came to Italy since 2016 for studying and living here, and I have had awesome experiences here, but I've also dealt with really bizarre situations. And today the story is about this professor that, he was just the strangest. And my god, I have talked about him before. I have specifically talked about his classes. They were boring as hell, and that video goes back to when I was taking his classes to be able to take the exam. I'll put the link in the description so you can watch that video if you want to know how his class were. They were boring. And you see, the problem was that I really couldn't comprehend what exactly he was talking about, because the class was meant to be about the history of performance and theater. So he basically skipped all of those and jumped right into the 60s and 70s and 80s of US and Europe and the theater of that era, mostly performance. And I was like, what about the history? Because most of all of the students were kind of lost about what was he even talking about. I even had a very hard time comprehending where his sentences started and when they ended. And back then I thought, well, I think it's my problem of the language. Maybe because it was the first academic year for me being here. So I thought, yeah, it's maybe it's just my problem of the language. Although being at the level B1 of Italian, and I was like, okay, it's my problem. Then I talked to other Italian students, and they were as confused as I was, and they told me that, yeah, it's even hard for us, so we can't even imagine how it is for you. So yeah, it was that bad. And then, imagine this person was so weird. He also, I kid you not, he brought his books that he has written for this course. He used to brought them to the classes in the baskets and asked everyone, all of us, to buy those books. And not just one, but there were 2 books that he has written. Also, there were one or two more that he hasn't wrote them, but his friend, his friends, I don't know. There were so many books, and it was the first academic year, my first year here, and I was like, oh, this is for bachelor's degree? I have to read so many books just for this just doesn't make sense. So he even invited his friends and some people that were really familiar with the atmosphere of the theater and shows, and they invited these guests, to tell us how it is to work in this place. And eventually, the only thing that they didn't do was to talk about their experiences and the challenges. What they ended up doing was just that our professor, our teacher, just talked to these guests about their shared experiences, and it was just like a chit chat. And we were like, okay, but we're not learning anything, and it's just you're telling your memories, and it's no use, what should we tell you in the exam, like your memories? And what? I don't know, man. It was one of the worst classes, and the worst part was that it was mandatory, and it had 12 credits, and we had to pass it. So imagine all that, and then let's go to the exam, because the exam is the great finale of this. I don't know what to call it. It can be a good feature film, I'd say. Yeah, it's that great finale in the third act. That's it. The exam was that. So there were like huge number of students in the classroom. Then the teacher and his two assistants came in, and like the whole exam, it was oral, and everything was happening just in that classroom, and it was just so much noises, and everyone was talking, and they were just sharing what they knew, what they have studied, and they were reviewing all this stuff, and we saw those books, my friend and I gotta tell you, we were three Iranians, including me, and one of our friends, which is from Afghanistan. And we were four. We always used to hang out with each other and, study together in general. And, we went there. So we sat there and everyone was talking. They started to taking the tests, and each student used to go up there, took the test with either the professor or other two assistants. So at the time, 3 students would take the test. And my friend and I were talking, that we were reviewing all the things that we knew. And one of our friends, he overheard the questions, and he was like, guys, I'm out. I don't know this shit. I'll take the exam another time. And he went away. Like, our friend just said goodbye, and he was like, see you later. Like, yeah, so because the question seemed a bit odd to us, so he went out there. Then we remained 3 of us. Then our other friend went up there to take the test, and I don't remember exactly if he did the test with the professor or the assistant, one of the assistants. I'm not sure really. So we went there, but after very few short minutes, he came back and he was like, I knew I'm not ready. And the assistant, I think it was the assistant, because he told us that the assistant has told him that you're not ready, go and then come back again later, maybe the next semester, and take the test. So then my friend from Afghanistan, I'm gonna call him A, because also his name starts with A. So yeah, my friend A and I, we remained. So by the time that it was my turn, like, I was stressed out. We were trying to review all the stuff and the theater groups and movements and everything that we knew. But the fact was that we were so stressed out that we couldn't even understand what we were saying, so the sentences didn't actually make sense. And then they called my name. And the dark moment arrives. That's the climax of our movie right there. So I went up there with the assistants, the professor beside her. He was doing the test with another student. So she began with the question about performance art, and especially the works of Marina Abramovich, which I knew her and I was kind of a fan. I am kind of still a fan. I knew her even before this class, so I was totally okay with the question, and I fully answered the question. I was happy as ever. I said, okay, it's a good start. So I answered her question. Then she asked me about a theater group. I think it was the Wooster group, I think. And I answered that question as well, because I remember that I have studied that, so I wasn't as good as, I didn't know them as good as Marina Abramovich, but I knew it because I've studied them. So I was like, yeah, okay, I know this. So I answered the question. Then she came up with these books that was on the desk, and she just all these books, and she was like, okay, which one of these books have you chosen to study? Because among these you should have chosen, I guess it was one or two, I don't remember, but in general we should have studied 3 or 4. So which one of these have you chosen? And I was like, so a very small side note here, you should know that the first year that I came here, I didn't have the scholarship, and I was really having a rough time here, and no matter how much I tried, I couldn't find a job. So I was unemployed as well and didn't have a scholarship, and I barely could go to do a simple grocery shopping. So it was that hard for me the first year that I came here. And then she asked me to which one of those books have I read. Also, she asked me if I have brought the books with myself, in which I answered no, I haven't. Obviously, I couldn't tell her that I couldn't afford to buy the books, because at least, like, one of them at least costed 15 euros. So you can imagine buying 3 or 4 books, like, it would costed me a lot, and I really couldn't afford to do that. I couldn't afford to buy those many books. So what I told her was that, oh, my Italian is really not that good, so I read the articles and stuff on the internet in English. And she was like, oh, these books are translated in English. And I was like, damn it. Fuck. Like, from that moment, my brain was on a roller coaster. Like, I genuinely didn't understand what I was saying. I was like, like, in my mind, I was like, fuck. What the fuck should I do right now? But what she was saying, it was that I was just, because I want you to know that, in my opinion at least, it doesn't matter if you have bought the books, it matters if you can answer the fucking question or not. And I think I could. So, by that time, I have answered 2 questions pretty well. So she went on asking a question about a show or theater, and how the lighting design was done on that show, I think. So I tried to answer it. I gotta confess, I didn't answer it as well as I wanted to, because I really couldn't find the words to express myself, and it didn't go as well as I thought that for that specific question. And she wasn't satisfied with my answer, so she went on asking this question. So, have you searched the professor on the internet? And I went from to, what? What the fuck? What are you saying? What the fuck? So, you can imagine that I could hardly control myself not to laugh hysterically. I mean, I don't know, it was just, the whole thing was bizarre, and it gets more bizarre. Just wait. And then I told her, sorry, what? And she was like, have you searched or read something about your professor on the internet or anywhere else? And I was like, yeah, I have searched about him. I on the Wikipedia, I have read about him. I have seen his works, kind of, on the YouTube, if there were some sort of video about his works and the lighting design that he's done. Yeah, he was in the lighting thing. He used to design the lighting system for each stage show stuff. So she was like, yeah, okay. And then she nodded. And eventually she said, for my grade, she came up with, all right, so is 19 okay? So what you should know about the grading system is that here in Italy, it's from 30. And the least grade that you can get and pass the exam is 18, which is horrible. I knew that 19 is a terrible grade. But I was thinking to myself, damn it, you just gotta pass this thing. Doesn't matter, your grade doesn't matter right now. Just accept it. So I said, yeah, okay, I accept it. And she said, yeah, okay, I gotta consult and talk to the professor. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I left the desk, and she went on talking to the professor, and then she nodded for me to come back. So I came back, and the professor turned to me, and he was like, I'm gonna give you an 18. So you can probably imagine I was about to go full on Barry in the last episode of second season. Like, I was at that stage of rage. Yeah. It was terrible. I felt terrible. I don't know. I'm lost for words. Like, I was angry back then, and even now that I'm talking about it, I'm still am angry. I knew that I didn't really deserve this. So I asked him that I need a couple of minutes. So, and again, I kid you not, I went out of that room and I called my mom. And I told her what has happened as briefly as I could. And she said, screw it. Just get those credits and get the hell out of that classroom. So I entered again, and although I knew that that grade would butcher my average grades, I accepted it. I accepted the grade. I accepted that fucking 18, man. No. But I did. Then I came back to my friend A and told him what has happened. So he kept on studying, at least trying to. Before it was his turn, it was another student's turn. So he went up there and they asked him, and because since my friend was among the last students, the classroom was pretty empty, so we could kind of hear the questions and answers. So I was listening to the questions they asked this student, and they asked him like pretty similar questions that they asked me, and I was really keen to know what his answers are. And then he went on answering, but not as good as I thought, because I always think that especially about Italian students, that okay, this is your native language, you should at least be better than me, and at least I have an excuse. I mean, Italian is my third language, what do you expect? It's still hard for me after more than 4 years that I'm spending here in Italy. I am still shitty at speaking Italian, and also reading those big academic books, like those are tough. But anyways, he went on answering, but not really in the best way, so I was surprised. And then by the end I thought, oh, I think he's gonna get an 18 or maximum 20. And also, they didn't ask him about the books, which books he's studied. But then when they told him his grade, from that stage of rage that Barry had in the season finale, I went from that to Sherlock, wanting to jump off from, I don't know, the building or something, from our university. Yeah, I was desperate. So, yeah, they gave him a 26. Then I turned to my friend and I told him, those were the exact questions that they asked me. And he got 26, although not answering really well. Like, I answered better. What the fuck is happening here? So then they called my friend, and my friend went up there and they asked him some questions. He tried to answer, and I couldn't and could hear the questions and answers at the same time because I was sitting a bit far, but I wasn't really concentrating on what they were asking him because I was on my phone and texting my friends and my mom about what has happened. And I just saw him after about 15 to 20 minutes. I saw him that he was coming toward me and his face was telling me enough. So they told him that he's not eligible and that he had to come back again and take the exam in another semester. And he had to study all of the books. So he came back. We didn't go out of the classroom. We sat there because he wanted to talk to them again and ask them if it's possible to take the exam again right now. So we waited for, I think there were just a couple more students left. So they did their own exam. It was done. Then my friend A went to them and talked to them, but it was like their voices were really, really low and I could barely hear them. And then this is my friend's point of view. So he told them that he has read and studied the materials not in Italian and not in English, but in his own, but his language, our language. And the professor, with a smirk, told him, "Oh, so these books are also translated in your language?" Man, I wish I could find the word, but I can't. Like, I am unable to find the words. Like, maybe I deserved that 18. Well, honestly, I don't think that I deserved that 18. But anyways, what the fuck was that answer to my friend? Like, seriously, what the hell? So full of rage and furiously, he walked towards me to pack his stuff. So it was like this, to pack his stuff, and then he turned and shouted, "You're a racist." And what happened next was hurted even more, because again, not only the professor but also the assistants smirked, all three of them. They nodded their head and they exit the classroom. I am really, really angry of myself that at that time I didn't stand up and told him anything. Like, I should have stand up and said something. I think I was afraid of what I don't know, but I didn't say anything. And he was just really angry, and I could totally understand him. I could totally see what he was angry about. It wasn't fair at all. And as we went out and we wanted to go grab a lunch as soon as possible, and our other friends were expecting us, and we shared the story with others, our other friends. And my friend A, he said something really well, like really that sank. And he said that an artist can't and shouldn't be racist. And I know there are a bunch of artists out there that are racist. But the fact is that being racist is the exact opposite of the notion of being an artist. I know that this story was a bit sad. Everything went well. After that, it turns out that that year was the last year of that professor teaching that course. The next year, they changed the professor. My other three friends, they all passed that exam, that test, with really good grades. Spoiler alert, I had to wait. It was a really bizarre situation, but these things happen. It happens everywhere. It's not just here. It happens everywhere. So yeah, this was the story of today and what happened. And I just wanted to tell you this story. I just wanted to put it out there. At least I hope that if you enjoyed this video, share it with others so that everyone could see. And also, if you have the same experience, share it down in the comments. And don't forget to give this video a like, also subscribe, and until the next video, bye!